I always talk about the 4 types of salespeople. There are those who are what we call
Jeremy Miner here.
Jeremy Miner.
Jeremy Miner, you are the sales trainer being talked about. Last week, I witnessed you on stage. 90 minutes, 1.3 contracted, 1.1 cash collected that day. How did you learn how to do that?
What's the number one thing that determines your income as a rep? Your skill level. If I can take a salesperson that was making 40 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand a year and get them to 250 or 300 or 400 or 500, I know that I'm doing my job. What's the number one thing that determines how successful, how big your company's going to be? Human beings are afraid of the fear of change, and they have to pay you money to see what's on the other side of that change. That's what selling is. Your communication skills is literally the number one thing you have to master. And that's what I always say, like, you can steal my content.
Yeah.
But
All right, welcome to the Next Level Podcast with Jeremy Miner. I'm your host for this podcast. My name is Sean Pollard, and we're going to switch some things up today. A lot of you have been asking to know a little bit more about the mind of Jeremy Miner. So today I will be interviewing none other than Jeremy Miner. Welcome to your show.
hey, welcome. Well, thanks for having me on my show.
It's a little different, huh?
I love that, man. Hey, thanks for your leadership here. You know, you're the president of the entire company of Global Operations, and I love just hearing everybody, like all of our team and employees, like the respect that they have for you.
Oh, thank you.
So well done, my friend. Well done, my friend.
It's been a journey, man.
Changing a lot of lives. It has.
I'm on my
been.
7th month at 7th level, and
Yeah.
it has been a journey.
Yeah.
It has been quite a remarkable change. But
Yeah.
Enough about that. This is about you.
Oh, it's your team.
And I have questions that I got from your people that you train.
Okay.
And I want to start with something that, that my questions first, because
Okay.
I'm running the show.
Oh boy, what you got for me? Put me on the hot seat.
Your
man.
unique style is called the brand box.
brand box.
Brand box, yeah. All great companies and ambassadors have brand boxes. You only wear Breitling.
Okay, sure.
You only wear Boss collared t-shirts. It's the 7th level.
Yeah.
You only wear Prada. You have the hairstyle that's very unique. How did this start?
Everybody makes fun of my hair, the 2 parts.
They do. The 2 part.
I used to have 1 part, so I think I parted it just on this side right here.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady that does my hair, she's like, probably about 2 years ago, she's like, hey, I got this idea. She's like, what if we did 2 parts? And I'm like, what do you mean by 2 parts?
It's great.
And she showed me some picture of somebody had 2 parts. I'm like, let's try it out. And now I'm like, I actually like the 2 parts.
Yeah.
But I love it because sometimes when I do a reel or something, like there'll be a few comments in there like, oh, I hate this guy's hair or whatever. And then like people will start like commenting on it and stuff. And then the reel goes even more viral.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always wondering like, what's going on in that other human being's life, that emotionally what's going on for them to take the time to put down somebody else's hair that they don't know. Like what's going on emotionally with them that would cause them to even want to do that.
Yeah.
That's the psychologist brain of mine. I'm always wondering like,
Absolutely.
what's behind
Something's
that?
in their life. You're pulling at their heartstrings.
Something's going on.
Brand box. If you think of a Harley truck, you think of a black truck. Did you know Harley has a truck? Ford F-150, black, orange.
I did not know that.
It's iconic.
No. Okay. I didn't
Victoria's
know that.
Secret.
Yeah.
That's the brand box.
Yeah. Okay.
You have a very unique brand box.
Yeah.
You only wear Prada. You can buy any watch you want. You only wear Breitling.
Yeah.
Why is that? And you only drive Land Rover.
I've always, I don't know, for some reason, actually this is kind of interesting. So in the summers when I was in high school, I played American Legion baseball for a team out of Springfield, Missouri. That's where I grew up, close to Springfield, Missouri. It's called Bolivar with a B. And so my baseball hats in the summer always had a big B on them.
Oh, nice.
So I've always liked the letter B.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of weird, but when I got into sales after a few years and started making some decent coin, I stuck with the B word,
The B.
the Breitlings. And I just like the Breitlings. Now, I've had a few clients actually buy Rolex for me. I think I showed you those 2
It's
watches.
beautiful. Yeah.
So I do wear those here and there.
Yeah.
I respect for those clients because I think those are awesome. I'm not really a Rolex guy. I think that most of my friends have Rolexes. You have a Rolex. But I'm just a Breitling guy. I'm just a brand guy.
Do you think it's to be different and not follow a trend of what you think the masses are doing?
To me, I'm always doing something different. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know if I was born that way or something I just started doing, but I'm always like, if everybody's going this way, I'm like, well, why are they going that way? Now, maybe there's a reason that you should go that way, but I'm always like the contrarian mind where I'm like, well, why would I do that? Or why do I have to do that? Like, what if I did this? So I'm always thinking differently. So Breitling watches, Vehicles I drive, I've driven a Range Rover since probably 2006. I get a new one every 2 years. I'm a big Range Rover fan, but I also drive Mercedes. I'm a big Mercedes person.
AMG and up.
Yeah, all that. You have the G-Wagon and the S580. Looking at, I've never really been a sports car guy.
It doesn't fit you. Knowing you now, I don't see you buying a Lamborghini.
Hey guys, Jeremy Miner here. Look, a lot of you leave comments wanting me to help you sell more. So the easiest way to get a hold of me, the quickest way, is to text me. So text me right now. It's 480-637-2944. So 480-637-2944. Listen, I started this company to help you learn how to close more deals, but do it the right way. Text me right now. Let's get back to the training video.
No, and I mean, I've got a lot of friends that have Lambos, and one of our account executives here, Chris, has a nice Lambo.
Yeah.
And I think that fits their personalities. To me, they just look like alien ships. I always make fun of my friends. I'm like, dude, the alien ship.
Yeah.
But, here in Scottsdale, there's a lot of people have the Lambos. But I'm more like seeking comfort when I drive and like luxury, that type of thing. So I like Mercedes S580. I like the BMW 750 series fully loaded, and big Range Rover, obviously, guy. I do like the Bentleys. I'm looking at maybe getting
your style for sure.
A Bentley, but as far as a sports car guy, it's just they're just uncomfortable. Damn it, but they look good, but they're just uncomfortable.
Absolutely. If you guys want more information about BrandBox, comment BrandBox, and I'll tell you the breakdown of what I have for Jeremy and his BrandBox and what sets them apart. You don't talk about real estate. You don't talk about investing. You are known as the sales trainer. The up and coming, the 21st century, you are the sales trainer being talked about. Your name is starting to be talked amongst some of the biggest with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosis, and partnership deals with certain people, maybe in HGTV. You have a lot of things moving on. What drove you to become a sales trainer and not just stay in making $3 or $4 million a year as an independent contractor? It's a lot less stress, I would imagine. Why take all this on?
Well, a couple reasons. So I'm a big believer that God gives everybody these seeds of talent. Okay, so everybody has a seed of talent. And some people, very few, like the 1%, they'll take that seed and they'll plant it and they'll grow it and they'll nourish it and they make something of it. Most people don't take like a little seed of talent that God has given them and do anything with it. They don't grow it. They don't nurture it. It's not like God blesses you with all these skill sets and successful mindset and like everything you need to know to become successful without you doing anything, without you learning and expanding that. But he gives you little seeds. Most people, because they have that fear, the fear of change or the fear of, what other people will think about them, don't do anything with that. Okay, so early on, when I was in college, I went to school for behavioral science, study of neuropsychology, which is a study of how the brain works in conjunction with the human being's nervous system. So when I got into sales, the start of my senior year in college, door to door, when I would knock on doors, and people would be like, not interested, or, we don't need it, or are you selling something, or whatever. Most salespeople would look at that person, they'd get off that door, and they would come, in at night or in the next morning with the manager and be like, oh, this neighborhood's really bad. Like, the people are all broke, like, they're all mean to me. But when somebody did that to me in the beginning, I was thinking, oh, what did I do to trigger that reaction in that person's mind? So I'm thinking about sales much, much differently because of my background in neuropsychology, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
So I'm like, oh, okay. I've got to learn body language. I've got to learn how to use my tone to get them to let their guard down. I've got to learn, looping. And these type of things just kind of came as we went. But my mindset was like, I'm not doing this to them. I'm doing this for them, right? Because if I can't get them to let their guard down, I can't help them. I can't help them solve problems and get them where they want to be. So in the beginning, my mindset was much, much differently than like a regular salesperson. And that's why I was so successful as a salesperson, making close to, at the height of my career, close to $3 million a year in straight commissions, like no salary, just straight commissions as a W-2 or a 1099 salesperson. So
that's trackable. You can see that on Power. You're in a Power ranking out of 108 million salespeople, correct?
Yeah, you can search it online. Yeah, there's like a ranking. You have to send in your W-2s or 1099 to prove it. So they have to be like, from your company.
Verified.
They actually call the company and say, hey, is this person, did they do this, blah, 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 blah. So I sent that in. I was ranked, before I retired, I was ranked 44th or 45th in the world out of 108 million salespeople selling anything in any industry worldwide.
See, not too many people know that about
For my industry, because we don't, I'm not going to get on there on the internet and like advertise that for a couple reasons. The first reason is it's not compliant. So you can't get on there and be like, hey, I made all this money, blah, blah, blah. Because with the FTC, even if you prove it, like I could show them W-2s, and we actually did in like probably 3 years ago, before we were as big as we are, we would put in the ads, like they would show my actual W-2s for like 12 years before I retired, right? And it showed it right there. But then we got big and had legal counsel and compliance officer like, whoa, you can't even show that, because people can interpret that as like, well, if I take this training, I'm going to make $3 million a year.
I could be like
you know, I could be that. So you have to be compliant, like as big as we are now. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I don't need anybody's validation, if that makes sense. Like, I'm comfortable with who I am, right? I know what we have here. I know the results clients get. I mean, we have a bit under 32,000 testimonials now.
Verified.
And they're not like, oh, Jeremy's hair looks cool, or I like Jeremy's watch, or, oh, I like the training. These are like results-based testimonies that we can find because they go and post it in one of our Facebook groups, Sales Revolution, or, you know, there's probably other ones we don't even see, right?
You've created many millionaires.
We have, and a lot of you know, and a lot of millionaires as far as salespeople, but a lot of multiple six-figure earners as salespeople. You know, if I can take a salesperson that was making 40 grand a year, or 60 grand a year, or 80 grand a year, and get them to 200 or 250 or 300 or 400 or 500, like, I know that I'm doing my job. You know, and I know that if I can take even like any type of company, like let's say it's a small company that's just starting out scaling, if I can get them up to, you know, 7 figures and 8 figures, or, you know, we can take like, let's say one of our new clients, we have NBC, the news network station. We're training their golf channel salespeople because they have to sell media advertising. If we can like even get them a 25% increase in sales, which to me really sucks, only getting 25% increase in sales, then look at the billions of dollars or more revenue they bring every year, like ExxonMobil, you know, client, or you know, all these big companies that we train. So to me, I measure the impact that we have as a company, not necessarily just on revenue or profit. I look at it as like, how many testimonials do we have? So like, I look at testimonials every day as they come in, because that Facebook group Sales Revolution, we probably get about anywhere on the low end of 30 to 50 new testimonials daily that people post, and we don't even ask people to post. We probably should ask. We should probably have like a thing there like, post your wins, but we don't even do that. These are just people posting what the training has actually done for their lives.
They're just grateful for you and the training.
And that's why I did it. That's why, you know, I retired in, 2018, had about an 18-year sales career, and I had invested in real estate, so I didn't really need to work. And a year later, I'm just like, people had always told me, you know, when I was in sales, and I was a VP of sales for a couple of companies as well, they always told me like, hey, you should start your own sales training company one day. Like, they'd always say like, you're going to be the next Brian Tracy. And I'm like, no. Like, if I ever start my own sales training company, I'm not going to be Brian Tracy. I'm going to be Jeremy Miner. Like, I'm just, I am who I am. I don't need to be anybody else. Now, do I respect like a guy like Brian Tracy? Of course. That's no disrespect to him, but I'm just who I am. And that's what drives me, is just the results we get for clients. And that's why I get up every day and do this type of stuff. I know that's kind of a long answer, but
no, but it's powerful.
That's
they need
how
to
I
hear
feel.
It.
Yeah.
Yesterday or last week, I witnessed you on stage for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And you sold $1.3 million in sales. 1.1 million in sales.
Cash collection.
Like
like 1.4, 1.5
contract
value.
You did that in
that's
90 minutes.
Small audience, yeah.
And that's 90 minutes, 1.3 contracted, 1.1 cash collected that day to 220 people, and 90 minutes selling from stage. How did you start? How did you learn how to do that? The first time I saw you do it, I was impressed. Working for you the second time, I'd never seen it. I mean, you were so much more crisp and more sharp with the delivery. Like, how did you start learning how to sell from stage?
I think speaking from stage, it's a lot different than, you know, training a salesperson how to sell 1-to-1, or if they're in B2B or B2Gs, like selling 1-to-5 or 1-to-10 or whatever. Because when you're communicating with an audience, you know, you've got this audience out there, and they're in the seats, and like, hey, is this guy legit? Can he really train me to sell more? Like, there's all these things going on in their mind. I call these, you know, frames or belief systems that they have. So with an audience, this is something I'm still learning myself. I'm still mastering. Like
Coming
by
from
all
Russell
means, by all means, I have not mastered this yet. We had, out of those, I think there was like 210 or 212 people in the audience. Half of those were non-clients. Like
First
they had
time.
never even heard of me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe heard of me, maybe followed me, never purchased any
You
of our
close them at
training
52%.
programs. Yeah, which is good. The event before we did 71%, but those were like all clients who had already purchased something. They already knew it worked. They were getting results, but they wanted even more results, more mastery.
And the thing you got to take into consideration too, most of them were paid for by their owners.
Yeah,
so they came out of pocket for the first time and self-investing.
And some of those we had B2B deals that we don't even count in there, that we don't count in the upfront cash collection. So there's probably a couple $100,000 more in B2B deals that we did. But there was about 170 people that could have actually bought the mastery program that we were offering there. And like I said, the reason why we offered the mastery program at that event is because, I always talk about the 4 types of salespeople, right? There are those who are what we call wingers. They just wing everything, right? They say something different to every different prospect all the time. And when they don't know what works, they don't know what doesn't work. They're up and down. And when they don't sell a lot, who do they blame? The leads.
Everybody else.
They're broke. They're poor. They got a broke mindset, and those salespeople eventually get fired. Then you have salespeople, the second group, which we call dabblers, right? Dabblers, they buy a few books on sales every year. They go to maybe an event. Maybe they follow me on Instagram or YouTube to get some free basic content. And they believe the lie that if they just stay in long enough, if they get enough reps, that eventually they'll learn from their mistakes, and eventually through trial and error they'll get there. That strategy takes years, if not decades, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't really know what your mistakes are and how you're going to fix them. And those type of salespeople are where most salespeople are, and that's why they're average, right? And if they ever get halfway decent after years of that, it's because they played the numbers game, they work 12, 14 hours a day, and they eventually burn out. Yeah. Those are the dabblers, right? So usually about half of the people in the audience are going to be a dabbler, right? They're kind of average, just kind of dabbling in the craft, right? Yeah. And then you have those who, what we call salespeople, the know-it-allers, right? They initially invested in sales training. They put some good money into it, thousands of dollars. They got good. Maybe they're making 6 figures or multiple 6 figures a year. Maybe they even got to 300,000-400,000 plus a year. Yeah. Then they get a big head, big ego, think they know everything there is to know about sales and persuasion.
That was me before I met you.
They stop investing in their skill level, then their income gets capped. Yeah. Because, as you know, training is not something you did in the past. Training is something you do. Think about your favorite athlete, like Steph Curry, basketball. Did he just train? Did he just shoot free throws 6 years ago? He doesn't need to do it anymore? No, he's practicing every day. He's improving every day, because if he didn't, he would go backwards. And then you have the group that we call those who are committed to mastery. And these are the people who are continually investing in their skill set. They know that they need to put major funding in it, because what's the number one thing that determines your income as a rep? Your skill level. What's the number one thing that determines how successful and how big your company is going to be? Skill level of you and your salespeople, right? And so they invest in sales training all the time. They don't learn from their mistakes. They learn from other people's mistakes, so they don't make the same mistakes themselves. That's speed to success. That's why their learning curve is 100x faster. And those salespeople, that's your top 1% or higher. So everybody in this room, in that room as well, they obviously want to commit to mastery because they want to get in the top 1%. And that's why we offer our mastery program at that event. It's a high level training program that's industry specific, that I am training in small groups. So there's limited, I think we only let 70 people in that program a month. That's it. Because it's very, it's more hands-on, if that makes sense, with myself and our sales trainers, but it's industry specific, where we teach them how to tie n.e.p.q into what they sell. And so they all want it, right? So I have to be able, there's 2 types of people in the audience. You have the group that feel like, I call that the superior complex. Yeah. They feel like they know everything there is to know, like the know-it-allers, right? That's about 20% of your audience in anything. They know everything there is to know, and they're just there for a few tips. But they think they can do it on their own without you. Okay? Or a book. So, or like a book, like a dabbler. How are you going to master anything by reading a couple
it's a good
books?
Book.
Books are always a starter. It's an overview of training.
Yes.
Like imagine a neurosurgeon mastering brain surgery from reading 50 books.
Yeah.
Unlikely. You don't master anything in a book because you can't retain a book. It's just words. There's no tonality.
Yeah.
Okay? That's how your brain retains things. So about 20% of your audience is going to have a superior complex. So they think they don't need you. They're just there for a few tips. So how do I help them overcome that belief system or way of thinking? Because obviously if that was true, they wouldn't be where they're at. They'd be about 6 levels higher, right? So we know that's not true. Then you have the other 80% usually of an audience, and they're more of the what's the word there? The inferior complex.
Yeah.
They believe in the training, they know it works, they see tens of thousands of testimonies, but they don't believe in themselves that they could do it. Like somehow
It's not for them.
They're different. Like, oh well, that guy, the reason why he can sell that much is because his hair's blonde and my hair's black.
Or they're special or not.
Or, oh, this only works for guys. It won't work for women, even though we have thousands of women testimonies. Or, like, oh, well, they're 6'3" and, I'm 5'10", so it only works for people that are tall. Like just whatever excuse they want to make up in their mind.
They're good
and
ones.
human beings make up excuses in our mind of why we can't have something we want. So they make up these excuses of why they can't do something because it makes them feel better about why they don't have what they want.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to help those people, the inferior complex people, overcome that limiting belief that holds them back from having what they want.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act of, me being able to deframe them out of their current belief systems that have kept them where they're at.
Yeah.
And
that's an art.
reframe them into new belief systems of where they can actually be once they acquire and master the skills. And that's what I do on stage. And that's something that, my conversions supposedly are very high, but I feel like I'm still like on a scale of 1 to 10, I still feel like I'm like a 3 in mastering that.
That's powerful.
And so, in the next 40 years, that's something I plan on mastering.
I watch you stay in the frame until you see the audience all switch. And you don't move forward. It's so powerful to watch the art of it. Because I'm watching you and I'm watching the room and I'm looking around. I'm like, they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. And you're staying in that same frame. And then you realize they all got it. And then you move to that next to reframe.
I can read their body language.
It's powerful. It's so cool to watch. I'm just like sitting here watching this stuff go on. I'm like, he's ready. They're all bought in now. Jeremy, go. So it's pretty cool to witness.
It's interesting because, then I'll have some people like, oh, well, your presentation just takes too long, like, an hour and 15 minutes. Like, we got to get it down to 45 minutes. But what they're not seeing is that I have to help these people. Like, look, here's what I always say. Is selling something you do to people or is selling something you do for people?
For people.
It's for people.
Absolutely. For them,
because if I'm not doing this to help the audience, they can't overcome their limiting beliefs, their fear of change.
Yeah.
So they stay in the status quo. And nothing will ever change for them. So I'm doing this for them. Okay, I'm not doing it to them. If I can't do this for them, they're going to stay in their negative belief systems or limiting beliefs, and they can't get what they want. They're just afraid of that change, right? Human beings are afraid of the fear of change, and they have to pay you money to see what's on the other side of that change. That's what selling is. So how do I help them overcome that fear of change? That's what I'm doing. And until I see that in their physiology, their body language, their facial expressions, then I don't go there.
Yeah, I know.
But typically, when you're on stage, within that few days, you're seeding a lot of those things to help them overcome it. And I start to see people start to already, by the time I even get into it, they're already there.
Yeah.
Probably 25%, 30%. But I've got to help the other people overcome that. And when I start seeing that, that's when I invite them to commit to mastery.
Absolutely love it.
Because it affects their family.
It does.
Look, if you're a dabbler, that affects your family financially because you're dabbling in it. So that means you're going to make far less sales than you could because you haven't committed to mastery. And it means your family, unfortunately, they pay for that themselves. If you're a winger, your family pays for your lack of skill sets because you don't make many sales, you don't make that much money for them. If you're a know-it-aller, unfortunately, your family still pays for that. You're doing good, but your family still pays for that because you could be a legend if you committed to mastery. Because if you really think about everybody in life, like, who's your favorite athlete?
Michael Jordan.
Okay, Michael Jordan.
I really respect the work.
Winger, dabbler, know-it-all, or committed to mastery?
Yeah, committed to mastery. He's obsessed.
Who's your favorite, like, thought leader or business leader or CEO or anybody?
CEO, Jack Walsh.
Okay, Jack Welch. Winger, dabbler, know-it-all, committed to mastery.
Yeah, committed to mastery.
Yeah. Favorite attorneys? favorite politicians, favorite doctors, favorite military people. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Were they wingers, dabblers, know-it-allers, committed to mastery? We all know they're committed to mastery. There's a reason why they're at the top.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to be there, but they're like, well, why am I not there? Well, it's because you're still dabbling by buying a few books a year.
Yeah.
Like you're dabbling in it.
You're scratching that itch.
You're not committed to mastery, and that's why you're not where you want to be. So I have to help them start to realize that themselves. Self-actualization. If that
It's
makes
powerful.
sense. Yeah.
It's
It's just
absolutely
like
powerful.
human psychology.
We're going to switch it up. You hired me to bring culture.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you told me. I hired your daughters,
Yes.
and I gave them a massive role with no experience.
You did.
A couple people said I was crazy.
Yeah.
I had this vision for them. What's life like with your girls here now, working with
It's
you?
great.
And your son, too, by the way.
Yeah,
Jackson,
my son
he's
now.
in sales.
And Quincy has been here for 3 years now.
Yeah.
She's one of the top people in our customer support and onboarding division. And then you hired my son now, who's just starting our SDR team. He graduated early from high school, and he's doing well learning. And then Cammie and Shelby had no experience in social media, content direction, and they're coming in here with me with ideas I've never even thought about.
Right.
They're looking at TikTok, like, Dad, you have to model this. Like, here's this doctor in Miami, and he's got 7 million followers because they're doing static this, and I'm like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about, but that's freaking amazing. And I'm like, you guys are so good at this, you know, and it's just because of their age. Cammie graduated from Arizona State. She's 24. Shelby's now 20 years old, and they're bought in. It comes in the DNA because
It does.
Me and my ex, we taught them me and my ex are very competitive in different ways, but my kids are very competitive, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
They don't let you know it, but deep inside they'll show it to you, but they don't talk, they don't brag about it.
No, they're just like their father.
They're just they just do it and they show you, right? And so now I see them coming here early, leaving late. They're texting me at 9 o'clock, and I go, Dad, we need to do this tomorrow. And I'm just like, wow, these girls are bought in. They see the vision. So for me, it's a dream come true that my kids work here. And I know one of your sons is working here now as well.
Yeah,
Our
we'll have the whole
top,
family
he's
soon.
been here, 2-3 months? He's already
First full month.
First full month,
He
yeah.
moved. He was here a week and then went back to California and then moved out here. He's been here a month this month.
He's crushing it as an SDR.
He only knows. So think about it. He has my mindset of perseverance.
Yeah.
He's never been in sales training.
Yeah.
He's only trained in n.e.p.q.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we have to teach salespeople that have been in sales 10, 20, 30 years.
It's
We have
hard.
to unwire the way they're thinking about
You have to
selling
shake
because
the
way
ego.
they're taught. Yeah. We got to get their guard down where they become open to hey, maybe I haven't mastered this. There's a lot more to this ball game, right?
Yeah.
There's much higher levels you can go
Yep.
with the right skill sets.
So we're building culture. We're building our in-house team bigger than ever.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful home that we're renting right now for people to come live in.
I'm
Are you excited about this?
That. I'm excited,
about that
Yeah,
move?
we got this big mansion to have our virtual. Sometimes we hire SDRs or salespeople all over the world, or even executives, and we want to obviously get them here to get trained, and most of them want to stay here in the offices. And some of these guys and gals are a little bit younger, and Scottsdale is a little bit pricier to live in for a 21-year-old or 23-year-old. So we wanted to have a big mansion where we could fit 14 to 18 guys in there, and we got to make sure that there's no partying going on or anything. So we're gonna have some chaperones in there, and tennis courts, pickleball courts, just a bunch of cool pool in the backyard and stuff. It's gonna be fun for them.
We have a lot of moving parts in the company right now. A lot of switches, changing platform design.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing that you're looking forward to in the next 6 months with 7th Level? And then go into why you named your company 7th Level, if you would.
Man, there's so many good things that I'm looking forward to in the next 6 months.
Some of the business. I wish we could talk about some of the business. I guess we can in probably 6 months.
Yeah. What I mean, I'll share a little bit of a thing that will be launched within 6 months. So, a lot of companies have come to us and they're like, hey, we want Jeremy in AI version.
Yeah.
How do we get Jeremy Miner in AI version? Because I can't just we have our virtual training programs that our core course is 51 hours, obviously, for people to go through clients, and then they get the group coaching with their trainers and myself virtually as well. And here and there, I'll do some workshops in person, and I do a couple keynote trainings a month. But I'm not going to travel every other day to a different state and city to do keynotes and workshops, and you can't retain that information.
No, that's exposure.
It's exposure. A 5-hour workshop, your salespeople are going to they literally are going to retain less than 3% of that within 30 days. So it's
Yeah.
going to give you a lift for a month, and they're going to go back to old habits.
Yeah.
To change habits, it has to be daily training, 15, 20 minutes a day. That's why we have virtual training platform and other coaching. And so since we train every industry, we're like, how do we duplicate Jeremy where there's like 10 billion Jeremys, so we can do this in every country, every language, all that stuff. And so we were approached by a few companies for AI that has already been built out. One of those is Paul Allen, the founder of Ancestry.com.
He's so cool.
He's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
This billionaire guy that just hangs out like he's just this normal dude. Just
and
like
he
chilling.
talks to you and really cares.
Yeah,
he really wants you
talks
to know what's going
like
on.
You would never think he's a billionaire.
No, that was the same thing about Tarek and Heather too. They were chill.
so cool.
Yeah, HGTV,
I
flip
love
and
this.
flop.
I
Yeah,
love
they
this
were
guy.
wild.
Yeah, Terry, him and I text back and forth, and we're like, hey, I'll be at the car dealership. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this car? He's like, oh, dude, you should get that car. I had that car like 3 years ago, and I asked him about advice about him and his ex-wife and how they co-parent. Because I have an ex and we co-parent, so I'm asking advice on that. And we're trading, secrets there, and we're talking to Heather at dinner. Yeah. The other night with her and Tarek, and I FaceTime my girls because my younger girls are like fangirls of Heather because she's the reality star. She's on Tarek's show with him, and then she has her Selling Sunset, that big real estate show.
Selling Sunset just launched her makeup line. 4 years she took to develop that product from scratch, not just white label some crap.
What I was so impressed by those two is how humble they were.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of people in the restaurant that came up to them and wanted pictures. And they would shake their hands. They would talk to them. They weren't like, oh, no pictures, or just take a picture, fine, get out of here. I see a lot of people like that when they become famous, that they change. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I was like, I'm never gonna be like those people. I'm just a normal human like anybody else. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I really like that. And Paul, he's like this billionaire, the guy that literally, when you talk to him, it feels like you're just talking to your friend or your uncle or something like that. And with his vision of AI and how to change humanity, they have these different divisions for charities and different things for politicians and also for sales. And so there's going to be an AI version of Jeremy that comes out that basically trains AI how to read not just the tonality of the salesperson.
So cool.
But the tonality of the prospect they're talking to in real time, tell the salesperson what their tone is actually saying to them. Remember, I always talk about you have to listen to what they mean, not just what they say.
Say that again.
Listen to what the prospect means, not just what they say. Those are two very different things, and you understand what they mean by their tonality. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. So if a prospect says, if I say, do you feel like this could be the answer for you? And they're like, yeah, I think it could.
AI is going to come right behind and say, that's an uncertain tone.
That's an uncertain tone. And so I'm immediately going to flip and like, well, hold on. You seemed a bit uncertain when I asked you that. What's going on?
Oh, it's going to be masterful.
I'm just, but besides the tonality, because, Gong will do that now. It'll say oh, you need to have better tone. Or you need to ask better questions. Or you need to find out more of their problems. But it doesn't show you how, because they don't have training that shows you actually how, specific. So basically it'll show you okay, at the end of the call, here's the reason why you lost the sale, because at the 2-minute mark, you said this with this tone, and did you see their reaction in their body language? If it was virtual or tonality, did you hear how their voice changed? Next time you're going to ask the question this way, you're going to reframe it this way. And I'm actually AI Jeremy will come up you're going to ask the question word for word this way. And did you listen to my tone? And I'm role playing with them with AI. And there's an Ask Jeremy feature like ChatGTP where they can go in I sell, IT solutions to trucking companies. What would Jeremy say in the first 20 seconds that would trigger curiosity to get the prospect to let their guard down? And then Jeremy will pop up in video and basically train them what to actually do for all industries. I mean, we have 40-some thousand hours of training content already. So we keep pumping that thing full. And that thing will be launching here before 6 months. So we're really excited. That's going to take our company to heights that maybe we never imagined. And it's something the market that they want. And I think some of them don't even know they need it yet. But it's like Steve Jobs, said, you don't sell to the needs of people, because most people don't even know what they need. Absolutely. I mean, did anybody know they needed the iPhone before it came out? No, nobody even knew what that was. Yeah. But when the iPhone came out, now they're like, crap, I need that, And so this is going to be a big play, not really even just for us, but for our clients. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm really excited.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Congratulations on
Have
that, by the way.
Jeremy in your pocket at all times.
I'm going to use it to reframe my wife and children in arguments.
Oh, I love that.
It's super powerful. It's going to be an absolutely dynamite relationship tool.
It is.
Sales and relationships.
And that's what it's being built for sales, relationships, persuasion, influence. If you're a teacher that wants to, convince your kids to do their homework, well, it's going to show you how to do that. If you're, if you're an entrepreneur trying to get your people to catch your vision of where you want to take your company, it's going to show you how to do that.
Yeah.
If you're a politician that wants to get more people to vote for you, it's going to show you how to do that. So it's sales, persuasion, influence, and communication 101.
I love that.
Yeah.
How much time do we have? Like 2 more questions?
Maybe
okay.
15 minutes.
Okay, great. This is very important to me because this is why I buy into you.
Yeah.
Your movement's real to me. The
Thank you.
words, changing the way sales is perceived in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That is so real to me. I can speak it with confidence and certainty, and I know how to attack that mission.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
To me, it goes back to the seeds that God has given you. Like at the end of the day, we all have to look God in the face and give an accounting of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I know that to be true. And at the end of the day, I have to stand before God, and He's going to say, what did you do with the seed that I gave you?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to stand and look into His eyes and give an accounting of what did I do with it? Like I nourished it, I grew it, I helped millions of people. And to me, like I make so many mistakes in my life. I've done so many wrong things that I'm hoping that will overlap all the things I don't do right. Because none of us are perfect, but me in particular, like I do things wrong all the time. I'm like, dang, why did I do that? Why did I say that? But I'm always trying to learn from those things to get better. And to me, I have to look Him in His eye and give an accounting. And I definitely don't want to shy away and look down like I'm ashamed that I didn't do anything with it. And so that drives me every day. It's a big driving force for me, man.
It's a powerful movement. It's
sales,
very real.
Like sales and persuasion influence is the number one. Your communication skills is literally the number one thing you have to master.
Yeah.
Okay. Like communication started from before this world began. I was talking to, I was on a podcast here with Cap. What was Cap? Is it Cap Chatfield?
Cap Chatfield, yeah.
The preacher.
Yeah, it's a preacher from
Yeah,
Oklahoma or Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, amazing. And we were talking about it. Great, amazing podcast. Great guy. And I was talking about, go into the book of Revelations, the war in heaven. What was the war fought with? I don't think many people think about that. Was it fought with like bullets, guns? Were they sword fighting with shields or arrows? Like it said there was a war in heaven. No, it wasn't fought with tanks, bullets, guns, swords. It was a war of words.
Yes.
It was a war of persuasion. It was a war of influence. And Satan took a third of the host of heaven and convinced them, persuaded them to follow him, to follow his plan over God's. That's persuasion. That's influence. And so it started before this world was even made.
Yeah.
And so, every war that started, why was it started? Because a lack of communication, a lack of understanding. Like the war with Russia and Ukraine. They both feel they're right. And they both, I don't know much about it, but they both probably have reasons why they're justified to do what they do. But because they couldn't communicate that to each other, and they probably actually want the same things, because they couldn't communicate that to each other, that's why a war was started, and that's why hundreds of thousands of people have died in a needless war. So, along with Paul, I believe in like changing the way we communicate as a society. Because you change the world. When you change your communication, you change the world, you change everything around you, one person at a time, one company at a time. So to me, like I look at a lot of companies' mission statements and you can see how inauthentic they are. It's just like bullshit corporate stuff.
Yeah.
Like when we say changing the way sales is perceived in society, one person, one human, one salesperson, one company at a time, that's what we actually are doing.
Yeah.
And that's what we mean. And, whether I'm here on the earth long enough to see through that doesn't really matter. If I'm here another 30 or 40 years or whatever, it's going to be so spread out in the world that somebody else will pick up that ball. But at least I was able to have a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Very powerful. I run around here in the office and online and all over the team and all over the country with our staff, and I said, we're 7th level on earth. We're 7th level on earth. That's what we're achieving, 7th level on earth.
Yeah.
What does 7th level mean, and why did you name your company 7th level?
Yeah, I get a lot of people asking me this now. So 7th level, my major in college is behavioral science.
Mm-hmm.
My minor was New Testament Christianity, which people are like, what? That's weird.
Yeah, right.
I just love history.
Yes.
And so in that, in my minor, we would study different world religions, especially like New Testament Christianity, like what the earliest Christians believed from like 33 AD to, let's say, about close to 400 AD, the early church fathers. A lot of it is a lot different than what Christians believe in today.
Absolutely.
There's still obviously a lot of, Jesus, the Christ, the atonement for sins, all that stuff is still, but there's a lot of other beliefs that I think Christians would be quite shocked that were just factual. This is what the early Christians believed. But in any major world religion, so I'm talking about ancient Christianity, early Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, even religions all the way back to Mesopotamia that we can track, there was a one core belief. And that belief was that there was multiple levels of the afterlife.
Yes.
So not just one heaven, one hell. That's the way a lot of people view it now, but anciently that's not how they viewed it. And I'm not making this up, it's just facts.
Mm-hmm.
So the ancient Christians, other religions, they believed there's actually 7 levels of heaven, okay? And at the 7th level, 7 means perfection, okay, in ancient times. So at the 7th level, this is where God dwelt because he was perfected. He's God. He cannot sin. He's perfect. He's immortal. He's not going to die. And so that's where I got the 7th level, was from the highest level of heaven, perfection. And so 7th level communication, we're perfecting our communication skills. And that's where the term 7th level comes from.
It's powerful.
I know, it's weird. People are like, level, what does that mean? Like, like a level like thing, but that's where 7th level comes from.
So I love it. It means a lot because now if we try to achieve that on earth, it's living in heaven on earth.
Yeah.
That's what I tell everybody. That's what we're here.
And right now,
Serve
if I
everybody.
can get to level 4 or level 5 before I leave this earth, then I will definitely feel like I'm going somewhere. I feel like I'm at level 2 right now.
Level 2?
Maybe level 2.5.
Okay.
I think in 20 years, maybe I'll get to level 3. But when I leave this world, if I can get to level 4, level 5, then I'll feel like I'm actually on the right path.
That's very well said. So let's open that up then. What would you rank yourself? 1 to 10, 10 being the best. What skill set or do you possess right now? If you were to rank yourself
to my
1 to 10.
ability as like a
To your true
sales
potential.
professional, to my true potential, I would say a 3.
3 to 10.
Yeah.
What happens when you're a 9?
I don't think anybody in this life will get to a 9.
No.
No.
Why not?
Because you're human, you're imperfect. You're not, like, that's almost like perfection.
Okay.
And we're human beings, and God didn't make us to be perfect, because if we were perfect, we would never learn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we go through trials and tribulations, and that's why we go through those things, so we can learn from that. And it's all how you react to those things when they happen that separates you apart. Everybody's going to go through disease. Everybody's going to have family members that pass away. This just life
Blood clot in your arm.
Blood clot in your arm. Everybody is going to go through maybe your kids not being exactly like you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is going to go through hardships and trials, and I believe that God puts you through those to test you, because it can but it's all how you react to those things when they happen. And I was at Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny back in December, and he said something that I'm like, that is so true.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you.
Yes.
And he's like, if my life as a child had not been like it was with my problems with my dad and all that stuff, I wouldn't be here on stage. I wouldn't be Tony Robbins. I wouldn't feel the need to go out and feed billions of children that need it, because if I hadn't been hungry as a child, if I hadn't been in poverty, if I had not felt the hunger for not having food because my family was so poor, I would never feel the need to go out and feed all these families who don't have food now.
Yeah.
So life happened for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's how you view it, and look at like Oprah, here, this lady, she's a billionaire, like, so motivating. And, I don't know all the facts, but I think when she was 13 or 14, she was raped.
Mm-hmm.
She grew up in the South.
Yeah.
There was a lot of racism at that
Black
point in her
woman in the
life.
South in those years.
Yeah, in those years,
Yeah.
she was raped. She could have said, like, and she would be completely justified.
Absolutely.
To say, like, hey, I'm never going to be able to do anything. Like, my circumstances are bad. She could do the victim stuff, and she would be justified. But she chose, like, hey, this didn't happen to me. It happened for me. Mm-hmm. And had those things not happened to her, it'd be unlikely that she would be Oprah today.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't know who she was.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe life happens for you.
Yes.
And it's how you react to those things, because bad things always happen to us,
Mm-hmm.
but it's how you react to those things that separate you from other people. And sometimes it's hard when you go through things like you had this blood clot, man. It's hard to focus. Your arm was like this. I'm like, bro, you got to go to the doctor. You go to the chiropractor. Like, I'm worried about you. And maybe your eyes are messed up sometimes with allergies and stuff. But I guarantee you, like, once that pain ends, you're going to feel like 3 levels higher up. You're
I'm going through something
free.
for some reason.
Yeah, man.
I believe it.
And I believe when you start to go through something like really hard, man, there's something really big waiting you on the other side if you react the right way to it. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I'm like, shit, what's about to happen to me? You know, I think there's something big around the corner. It's like something really bad could happen to me, you know?
It's coming big time.
Next week, something's coming down the pipe, you know? But that's, you know, that, and, you know, I don't go to church every week. I should. No. You know, probably will.
I don't go to church much. I believe in walking with God.
Yeah, I do too.
My walk is my walk. I don't have to go to church for that. I enjoy church sometimes, but no.
Yeah.
You know, and my wife said something, and this is why I enjoy my walk with God. My wife said something about my beginning months here. I was very unhappy. Yeah. It was very hard what I came into and had to fix.
I remember we had the old management team that were like trying to get rid of you, you know, because I brought you in as like my right-hand man, because I was like, well, who can I trust in my own company? We've gotten so big that nobody knows me. You know, there's things going on behind my back. Like, who can I trust? And that's why I reached out to you, because I'd met you at an event, you know, at another event. And I was like, this guy I can trust. And I've heard other people say, this guy you can trust. Like, he's actually, like, he's really good. You can trust this guy. Like, he's the real deal. And I'm like, I need to bring him like as my chief of staff almost. Yeah. To find out from me like who in my own company really has my own back out of all these executives and different things. And that first like 3 months when they were here, they were like trying to get rid of you. They brutal. They knew it was my wife. On.
My wife said, "You're not leaving this man. You are here to protect him. Yeah. I believe in his heart." And I went, a lot to me. My wife's never been wrong, man. She's very pure, and you know we've been together for 28 years, and she said, "You're not leaving." I'm like, do you know what I'm going to go through? She goes, go kick their ass. I'm like, okay. Okay, man. She goes, permission granted.
That first like 3 or 4 months, that was pretty rough, dude. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and the thing is, like, we just had to put on our game face. Yeah. You know, we got hundreds of thousands of clients. We had to put on our game face and show up every day and train them. And we did. Yeah. You know, and we did. Nobody knew really what was going on in the background. And sometimes I'll get on, like, Facebook or something. I don't do it very much anymore, but sometimes I get on Facebook and I'll see somebody tag me or something. They'll be like, oh yeah, 7th level, like they've had all these executives leave and like something's going on over there, like they're falling apart. And I'm sitting here like, we're having our best revenue and profit months of all time. Like, we're bringing in thousands of more clients every single month. And yes, we got rid of some executives that weren't here for the right reasons, they didn't want to be part of the vision, that had their own agendas, and you know, we're like saying things behind my back, and I'm sitting here like, I have made you guys wealthy. I have helped you. Like, you're saying things behind my back. Like, I'm just here to train salespeople and companies, and we got rid of them, and ever since then, the culture has changed where everybody's actually really, really happy. Yeah. You know, they want to be here. They're happy, and you know, but we always kept our game face on with our clients. You know, we would never say anything to our clients because we want them to focus on their own goals and where they want to go. You know. Yeah,
I have that saying where I like beating on smart people. I'm competitive. You're competitive. I'm sure that's where the competitive edge comes from.
I love you because to certain people you act like you're not very smart, but you do it strategically. You play chess because then they let their guard down.
Yeah. Don't say that.
Because they don't think you're...
Cut this out of the podcast.
Yeah, they don't think you're smart, but you're the smartest person in the room because now they open up and tell you things that maybe they wouldn't have told you if they thought you're really at the highest level.
I appreciate that.
Much higher.
I do. Talks about the competitive edge. You're super competitive. Ultimate competitor, I call you. You don't talk crap. You don't brag. You're not boisterous. Yeah. You are a competitor from baseball days in college to... pickleball today.
Yeah, I know, right?
Golf.
See this 40-year-old some guy
darts, like
being
What is that?
competitive.
What is that twitch in you? 'Cause
No,
I know what it
it's
is
like
for
a
me.
it's a chip on my shoulder, man.
Yeah.
It's a chip on my shoulder. Everybody has chips on their shoulders. It's just whether you activate them or not.
Mhm.
And so the chip drives you. Like Tom Brady had a chip, right? So
Yep.
gets quarterback. He starts his senior year in Michigan. Nobody really thinks he's going to be that great. Maybe he gets drafted, maybe he doesn't. Probably if he gets drafted, he's going to get cut. He gets drafted like one of the last picks, last rounds. Probably going to get cut. Most people get
All American
cut.
story.
And then within a year, he's like in the Pro Bowl, and then he becomes the all-time best. But it's because that chip drove him to become all-time best. So he studied game film over and over and over. He knew more than what the defense knew. He knew the defensive coverages better than the defensive coverages guarded him knew their own coverages. And that's what's committed to mastery is. So to me, as a kid, probably around 11 or 12, my stepdad became disabled. We were like a middle-class family. He was like a lineman that worked for the power companies.
Yeah.
And he became disabled, got lupus, couldn't climb poles anymore, and literally had to get on disability. And we went to lower class, like poverty, like we were on food stamps, like within 90 days. My parents had maybe 3 months of savings. Within 90 days, we're on food stamps. He can't work. And he, disability, he's getting like 10% of what he made at his job. And so my mom, who had 4 younger brothers, had to go back to work. And my brothers were like young, they're like 8, some of them are like 2 years old then. She had to go back to work as a waitress while she was going to college to get her degree to become a teacher. And I remember this one incident. It's always this one thing that happens in your childhood.
Yeah.
Your beliefs are formed from usually the ages of 4 to 13, cemented by the time you're 18, 95% of your belief systems. And I remember I went to baseball practice. I was probably almost 12. And all my friends had the Nikes on and the Adidas. And I had those on the year before. But then this summer, I had the cheap Walmart cleats.
Yeah.
Like Voigt. If you remember Voigt.
I do.
And I remember I felt so embarrassed. Nobody said anything. But I felt so embarrassed going to practice, and we had no money, and I think I started working when I was 13 every Saturday. I had to get a job to pay for even cleats or anything. And so I was so embarrassed that I was like, what, I'm never going to feel like this again.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about being wealthy or poor then, but I just knew that there was this feeling of I didn't have what everybody else had. And for some reason that for the first 15, 20 years of my life till I got to probably 30, 32, that's what drove me, was a fear of loss.
Yeah.
So I started becoming really successful in sales, even in my 20s, where I was making over $1 million a year in commissions. But once I hit 30 and I went to something called Landmark Forum, where I kind of discovered I'm being driven by a fear of loss to succeed. And then it flipped it where I'm now being driven by impact, and I'm being driven by helping others. And that took my income from around $1 million to $1.2 million a year in commissions, up to $2.5 to $3 million a year in commissions, just as a salesperson, because I flipped that. What's driving me, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
But that was the chip.
That's fulfillment now.
That was a chip on my shoulders, you know. And so every time anybody says something negative about me, that somebody brings about me, or let's say we have a salesperson that leaves here and starts their own sales training company after a year of being a salesperson, and they start trying to bag me, and I'm like, look at the results we got you. It just drives me further. So anytime somebody says anything about me, I'll probably never say anything about it.
No, you don't.
But I internalize it, and I'm like, okay, I'll just go out and do it. I'll show them.
Yeah.
But I love it. So we don't get a lot of haters because I'm probably not controversial.
Yeah.
I'm pretty cool. But when we do get a hater, it just makes me want to perform even better. And I believe in the concept. I don't know who said. I think it was maybe Steve Martin. But become so great that they can't ignore you.
Yes.
And that's what I try to do. Become so great that they just can't ignore you at that point.
The only hate I've seen from people in competition with you are ones that bag your training, that have learned from you, and they use that as a steering point to elevate what they do.
Yeah.
But I know 2 of them specifically that I went and found all of their testimonials about how great they were. They owe you the world, and all of a sudden a year later they're in business for themselves. And they say that your shit doesn't work. I'm like,
I know.
that is such a poor way to do business.
There's one sales trainer that said it on a podcast.
Lionel.
His inner circle program's not that great.
Yeah.
And so I know the podcast host.
You poured out all those
podcast host, and he had me on the podcast, and I had the team go look for their testimonials because they were clients.
Big
he was a client of ours.
Yeah.
3 years before in our inner circle mastery program, and there was 13 or 14 big testimonials, and I had them send me 5 or 6 oh, Jeremy Miner's n.e.p.q. It's like the best program. Like
I owe Jeremy
my
everything.
income was $5,000 a month, and now I'm making like $80,000 a month in commissions, and like all like just bragging up n.e.p.q. in the program. And then like 2 years later, starts his own sales training company. He's like, yeah, n.e.p.q. doesn't work. Mine's better. And I'm like, what?
I don't know why
like,
you wouldn't want to collaborate with you.
Psychologically, you have to think about what's going on in that person's emotional life that would cause them to put down someone else.
That's a weak man.
Especially somebody that really helped them get to that level.
Knowing that you would collaborate with him.
In front of other people. Like, what's going on emotionally with them? Because when somebody makes fun of you, when somebody puts you down or they bully you, you have to think, like, that has nothing to do with you. No. That has everything to do with the person saying that, because something's going on emotionally in them that's caused them to feel insecure about themselves or what they do. So they have to put other people down to make themselves feel better. That is called ranking in psychology. So that person has an extreme form of what's called ranking. Something happened in their childhood which makes them feel insecure. Even though they might on video feel like, I'm really, like in person, I've come across really secure. When you put down other people, it's because you feel insecure about your own self and your own talent. So you have to put down somebody else to make yourself feel better. That's an extreme form of ranking. So something happened in that individual's childhood with their family or their parents or someone that causes them to feel insecure.
Got ranked.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. What I really like about your certainty is that you don't care if people leave us and go work for the competition. It doesn't bother you at all. You don't care if they leave us and go open up another company or a sales training business, but do not train on n.e.p.q. and call it yours. That's your only no-no.
It's my methodology that I developed from, neuropsychology and an 18-year sales career. And that's what I always say. Like, you can steal my content.
Yeah.
But just like Tony Robbins says, you'll never be able to steal a person's wisdom and experience who lived the content in the trenches and sold with the content and psychologically understands it. That's why anybody that tries to steal my content and copy it, they'll only be maybe 10% of what I ever was, because they're not the one that built the content and they don't understand the psychology and the tweaks that went in it and how I used it in the trenches to make $3 million a year as a commission-only salesperson when I had a job.
Yeah.
It'd be like you trying to steal what Tony does. You're never going to be the same, because he's the one that has the wisdom and experience in the content. Like, I sold for 18 years as a salesperson before I started my own company. If I had started my own sales training company after 2 years of selling, you wouldn't know who I am, because I wouldn't have the experience or wisdom to be able to do this at a high level and train every industry from 2 years of selling. You can't have enough wisdom and experience to do that.
It's cute.
So many people try to, like, I want to have everything right now. Well, that's why their brand will never really get that big, because they don't have enough experience, they don't have enough wisdom, and so when the market changes, they won't know what to do, and they will go bye-bye.
That's why I think Heather from HGTV with her new makeup line will do so well, because she could have slapped her beautiful, powerful brand on a white label product and went and made millions. She waited 4 years and developed the chemicals, the powders, and all that thing, because it'll happen over time for her, not overnight. And so I think she'll be very powerful.
It's true. And I look at her husband Tarek, and he's been doing real estate for, like, I don't know, 18, 20 years. That's the guy that I want to buy, like, real estate coaching from or whatever, that's been doing it for 20 years, because he knows the ins and outs. He knows good markets, bad markets. He's lived through it successfully.
And he's relevant in the eye of the public.
Exactly. If you're taking coaching from somebody that did it for a couple of years, you're just, they don't have the experience.
That's like a 21-year-old life coach and a 5'3" bodyguard.
It's just like the same thing. Who do you want flying your plane in really bad weather?
Yeah.
Somebody that only has 1 year of flight experience, or somebody who's been flying 25 to 30 years? I mean, I think we all know the answer.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Miner, let's get out of here. Favorite book?
Favorite book for sales persuasion?
All time, just favorite book. That's a big one, I know.
That's such a hard one, man. There's so many good books out there. I think a good book for, like, an overview of psychology of communication is To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. Okay. I've never met Mr. Pink, but I'm sure we'll meet each other at some event down the road speaking together. I think it's a really good book, overview as far as psychology. Yeah. I think that's there's so many good books, dude. Like, I've read like 1,400 some books.
Let's go with that. Favorite movie?
Sales persuasion. Favorite movie. I'm going to have to go with Christian Bale and the Batman movies.
They're great,
I love those movies.
Superheroes.
Like, I love the mysterious individual he plays, and I think he's one of the best actors. Also, Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the best actors. I love a lot of his movies too.
Do you believe in the alter ego? Creating an alter ego like Mamba mentality and Air Jordan and TB12 to flip that switch to go into another
I believe the
mode
most
and
successful
vibe.
people in life have alter egos.
Alter egos, yeah, they have
for
that
sure.
mask.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, for sure.
All right, what are you doing? In your
Everybody
spare time?
has a mask. Everybody. Has
Everybody
a mask.
does. Yes.
It's just what you do with that mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you do in your spare time with your kids and family? Like when Jeremy's not plugged in, which you always are, because you're always calling and texting me. What are you doing with your free time when you're not working?
I mean, I'm kind of an easy dude. Like I just like kind of lounge around the house, hanging out with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of them are gone. I have my 6-year-old now, you know, that I split custody with my ex. I just love being around my kids, taking them places. You know, we're going to go to the rodeo this weekend.
Yep.
We're going to go to Europe this summer again, you know, for a couple weeks. I'm pretty boring, man. Like on a Friday night, sometimes I love just turn on the TV and watching Ancient Aliens and just not thinking about anything.
Yeah,
You know, like just getting your mind off things and watching the guy with the crazy hair on Ancient Aliens, you know?
I love it, brother.
So I'm just, that's what I do. There's other things. I like to go to, you know, like watch college football and NFL and, you know, go to sporting activities. But I also like to go to charity events and networking events. And, you know, I like going to the symphony and things like that.
You got class.
I try to stay classy, San Diego.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
All right, well, let's leave it with this. This has been around for 4 years now.
I think 3 years.
You have spent a lot of time with an insurance black book that is
Yeah.
ready to launch in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have a one that's industry specific for any type of insurance, life insurance, final expense, mortgage protection, IULs, commercial insurance, renters, homeowners, any type of insurance you can think of. It's an insurance black book of questions. Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Can I pre-sell it for a 40% discount?
Well, sure. I guess
right.
let's do it. Yeah,
All right,
let's
there
do
you
it.
go. Well, Next Level Podcast with Jeremy Miner. It's been a pleasure, brother. I
And
appreciate
text-
you, man.
Yeah, and then text
yeah,
us.
text.
Text us to if you want to pre-order if you want to get this black book of questions for any industry, or if you want the insurance black book of questions, or just if you have questions, just text us to this number 480-637-2944. I've said this number sometimes. I've memorized 480-637-2944. Either myself or one of our sales trainers. There's about 4 or 5 sales trainers. Sometimes we lock ourselves in a room.
Yep.
We just answer
That's
questions.
what I love about you, bro. You do take the hours. You take about an hour and a half a day to answer those texts personally. That's really special. I'm glad you do that.
I like it. Now, it might take us 1 or 2 days before we answer the questions, just FYI. So, anyways, Sean, thanks for having me on my own show.
It's an honor,
It was
brother.
awesome.
Let's do it, man. See you guys next time. Later.
Man.
That'll work.